Chapter 26 of Shrimadbhaagavatha, Kardama's Penance. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Brahma had told his sons Manu, Kardama, and Daksha that they should create progenies, and they agreed to do so. Kardama proceeded to the banks of the river Saraswati, and there he spent several years performing tapas. Pleased with his devotion, Narayana appeared before him and asked him what he wanted. Kardama fell at his feet and praised him. He said, I am a fortunate man. You have appeared before me. You are the Parabrahman, and it is to realize you that tapas is performed by the great. Having seen you, man has no other desire in his mind. And yet, commanded as I am by my father to take up the task of creation, I am forced to ask a boon of you. I want a woman to be given to me. I want her to be the perfect woman. I will then perform my duties and make a sacrifice of my everything to you. You are the other form of time. The kingpin of that wheel of times is you, the Brahman. This wheel is made up of many parts. The spokes, which are 13 in number, are the months. The wheel has 360 parvas, days, and its rim is made up of the 6 seasons. Its edges is decorated with millions of teeth, which are the movements. The rim itself is made up of 4 pieces, each representing 3 months. The speed of this wheel is terrific and no one can withstand its power. The entire world is tied to it and rolls with it helplessly. In this mad rush, men think only of themselves and the gratification of their desires. They have no thought of you. Life ends only too soon, and it is wasted because it has achieved nothing. I am, alas, one of the many who want something worldly out of you. But then, please grant me non-attachment to the objects of the world. Please make me efficient enough to perform dispassionately the duties imposed on me by Father and also by your words, the Vedas. Make it possible for me to abandon the world for your sake whenever I want to. Grant me this boon. Narayana smiled on his devotee and said, I know what is in your mind. I know that you will live in this world in karma like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. I have already chosen a wife for you. I am well pleased with you and your devotion. In 2 days' time, Manu, the emperor of the world, will come to you with his wife Shatarupa. They will come here with the intention of giving their daughter Devahuti to you. She will be the ideal wife for you. She will be the mother of 9 daughters, and these daughters will marry the rishis, Maricha and others. Thus will your father's commands be obeyed by you. And in the end, since I am pleased with you, I will be born to you as your son. I will then establish Shankhya philosophy on the earth. The Lord vanished from the spot, and Kardama waited for the coming of Manu. Kardama's ashrama was so situated that the river Saraswati flowed on either side of it. There was a small lake by the side of the ashrama, which was filled with sweet, clear water. Flowering trees and trees which bore fruit were growing on all the sides of the ashrama, and the air around was always scented. It was a holy spot and made all the more so because the Lord had visited. It became known as Bindusaras because tears from the eyes of Narayana had fallen there. It became known as Bindus Saras because tears from the eyes of Narayana had fallen there, tears of joy, which he shed when he saw the devotion of his bhakta. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Chapter 27 of Shrimadbhaagavatha, The Coming of Devahuti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Swayambhu Manu, in the meantime, was travelling fast towards the Bindussaras. With him was his wife Shatarupa and his daughter Devahuti. He had brought costly silks and jewels with him, and he travelled towards the ashrama. Soon he reached the holy spot. Followed by his servants who were carrying his gifts, Manu entered the ashrama of Kardama and walked towards him. Kardama had just completed the worship of the fire. He was himself glowing like fire because of the spiritual awakening in him following the sight of the Lord. Manu was pleased to see that he was very handsome and that he had eyes which were gentle and full of compassion. Manu went and prostrated at the feet of Kardama. Kardama blessed him and offered him argya, padya and other customary things offered to a guest. He honored Manu since he was a monarch. Manu received them all with humility and sat at the feet of the rishi. Kardama spoke sweetly to him about the welfare of his kingdom and the happiness of the people under his rule. He said, I am honored by the visit of such an illustrious person like you. You are the monarch of the world and you have come to my humble cottage. I honor you because you are the image of Narayana. A king is said to be the Lord himself. He is said to be the sun, the moon, fire, Indra, Vayu, Yama, Dharma, Varuna and Narayana. By his prowess he becomes like the sun. He pleases by the sweetness on his face and thus he resembles the moon. His power is so great that ordinary mortals cannot approach him, and that is where he resembles Agni, the fire. He rains riches and prosperity on the kingdom he rules, and so a king is said to be like Indra. He should know the innermost thoughts of those who are around him, like the air Vayu, which can enter everywhere. Destruction of evils is his role, like that of Yama, and protecting the good like Dharma. His dignity and innate greatness are like those of Varuna, and he is the representative of Narayana on the earth. This is the reason why a king should be honored like he is a divine being. As for the reason which prompted you to come to this hermitage, I assure you, try my best to please you. Embarrassed by the words of praise which Kardama had spoken, Manu spoke humbly. He said, You have been born from the face of the Lord to propagate tapas, knowledge, selflessness, detachment. We Kshatriyas have been born of the arms of the Lord to protect great souls like you and to help you propagate the lessons you have learnt. We protect each other, and when you say that you are pleased with my rule, I consider it my great good fortune that I have been able to please you. Compassionate as you are sure to listen to my words and grant me what I ask for. I have 5 children. Uttanapada and Priyavrata are my sons, and my daughters are Akuti, Prasuti and Devahuti. Being the father of daughters is a difficult state. I am worried as to who will be the fit person to marry my daughters. This is my daughter, Devahuti, has heard about you and your glory from Narada, and ever since then she has set her heart on you. She has chosen you as her Lord. Lord Narayana has also instructed me to approach you with this request. I am therefore asking you to grant me my wish. Please accept this child of mine and honor me. Kardama said, I have been thinking of marriage since some time now. Your daughter, you say, has chosen me as your husband, as her husband. I am happy to accept her as my wife. She is beautiful, and she does but eclipse the glow of the jewels she is wearing. But I must tell you something before I accept her. I will live with her in the Grahastashrama married state until she becomes the mother of my children. And after that, I will leave her in order to perform tapas and reach the Lord. A man who has followed the three ashramas, brahmacharya, grihastha and vanaprastha, must need become a sannyasi and renounce his wife, his home and his children. This is my intention. Manu and Shatarupa then gave their daughter Devahuti in marriage to Kardama. Leaving her behind with her husband in the picturesque spot Bindusaras, the emperor returned to his city, which was called Barhishmati. The city was a holy spot. It was here that the sacred Varaha, while sniffing around for the earth, had shed some of the hair from his body. Out of the hair grew grass by name Kusha and Kasha. The official name for this grass is Barhis, and the city was thus named Barhishmati. Manu had performed a yajna on this spot with this Barhis spread on the Yajna Vedi, and this was in the name of Adivaraha. The land which was sanctified thus was named Brahmavarta. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Chapter 28 of Shrimadbhaagavatha, The Ideal Wife. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Devahuti, the wife of Kardama, served with him even as Parvati served Mahadeva when he was performing penance. Days passed, months passed, and years too. Still, she was the same cheerful, happy woman whose only pleasure seemed to be serving her husband. One day, Kardama looked at her. She had grown thin because of the austerities she had been observing. Her face had lost the glow it had when she first came to him. Her blue eyes were still beautiful, but they had lost their lustre because of sleepless nights. Her jewels she had discarded long ago, and her dress was simple and coarse. Her silks she had given away so many years back. Kardama called her to his side and said, "My beloved wife, I am pleased with you and your devotion to me. Though you are a princess by birth, used to luxury and comfort, you have never once looked unhappy at the poverty and the difficulty you have been made to undergo all these years. Because of the vritas you have been observing constantly and again, because of your constant serving me while I have been in meditation, you have always obtained the grace of the Lord. I will give you the power to see with the inner eye. You can see the glory of Narayana. Listen to me, dear women. With a lift of his eyebrows, the Lord is able to destroy all the many desires in the mind of man. When he has looked on us with love, where is the need for worldly pleasures? We are heirs to heavenly enjoyments. Why then should we think of the pleasures of the senses? You and I have risen above them." Devahuti's eyes were downcast when she spoke to her husband. She said, "I know all that you have told me is true. I know the power of your yoga and about the grace of Narayana, which is always yours. But, my lord, I am just a woman. The wish to be a mother is the natural instinct of a woman. You would have known that this desire lodged in my mind already, and yet you want me to express it." She stood before him with her face suffused with a blush. Kardama smiled softly at her and said, "So be it." With his yogic power, Kardama created a Vimana, a floating palace with lovely gardens and lakes and flowers and jeweled pillars and seats covered with silk and brocade. It stood at the doorway of the ashrama. Devahuti stood looking at it. Kardama saw her eyes filled with longing and said, "My dear wife, enter the Bindusaras. After bathing in it, you will go with me in the Vimana wherever you wish." And added, "This Saras has been formed because of the kindness of Lord Narayana, and it will grant the desire of everyone. Devahuti, whose eyes were blue, whose raiments were soiled, and whose hair was all unkempt because of neglect, whose body was thin, emaciated because of her vratas, entered the Bindussaras because her husband had asked her to do. Even as she was looking, an amazing thing happened. Hundreds of young and beautiful maidens were there to welcome her. They bathed her with oil and perfumed water and dressed her in costly silks. They decked her up with jewels, and when she came out of the saras, she could not recognize herself. All her charm and her maiden beauty had come back to her, and she thought shyly of Kardama. He was quicker than thought and came and stood by her side. She looked at him, and he had also become so different. He looked like he used to when they were married. He was as handsome as a Gandharva. With a smile, he took her hand and placed her in the Vimana. It rose up in the air and was soon travelling with the speed of Vayu. The young couple spent several years in the Vimana. They lost count of time, and they spent all their nights and days in happiness, oblivious to the world. 100 years had passed, and they knew it not. Devahuti became the mother of 9 daughters, and Kardama realized that it was time to go back to the earth. The dream was over, and Devahuti came back to reality. She knew that her husband would leave her and go away to perform tapas. He had spoken about it long ago when they were to be married. She went to his presence and spoke to him in soft and gentle terms. She said, "My lord, you had told my father long ago that you would abandon the Grahastha as soon as I become the mother of children. I know that the time has come when you will leave me. But, my lord, how can I bear this separation? I am an ignorant woman. Please teach me how to be rid of the fear of samsara. I am frightened. I will have to live all by myself. The children, when they grow up, will find suitable husbands for themselves. I will get no solace from them. Please stay back for a while. Who knows? I may get a son who will help me, who may teach me how to be rid of this bondage called worldliness. When I was with you all these days before the children were born, my desire for you was earthly. Attachment of a worldly person to one who is also worldly, like her, leads to bondage. But when this same attachment is to the one who is beyond the ties of worldliness, they say that it leads to salvation. You are detached. Will my love for you then lead me to salvation? Consider me. I have been your wife. I am the wife of one who is the greatest of the tapasvis, and yet this heart of mine is still grieving over worldly things which I am to lose. I am indeed the most unfortunate of women, since I have been deceived by the Maya of the Lord." Kardama wiped the tears in her eyes and said, "Do not think of yourself so badly. You are not unfortunate. On the contrary, you are the most fortunate among all women. Lord Narayana has told me that he will be born as your son. You are going to bear the Lord himself in your womb. Can any woman be more fortunate than you? Do not weep, my dear women. From today, you must observe the severest of vratas to prepare yourself, to make yourself worthy to receive the Lord. Pray to him day and night. Pleased with your devotion, he will be born as your son. He will glorify your name and mine in the days to come. He will teach you Brahma Vidya, which will break asunder all the knots which have been tying you down to this world. He will help you to find a way out of this wilderness called Maya. Through you, the world of men will learn the lesson." Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. chapter 29 of Shrimadbhaagavatha, Kapila Vasudeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Devahuti did as she was told. She worshipped Narayana day and night. A long time passed. In course of time, the Lord entered her womb and stayed there like fire which is hidden in the Arani. There was great rejoicing in the heavens when this happened. Sweet music could be heard from the skies. The clouds rambled as though in joy. Gandharvas sang and the Apsaras danced in ecstasy. There was a rain of flowers from the heaven on the fortunate Devahuti, who would be the mother of Narayana. To the ashrama, which was beautiful with Saraswati flowing on either side, came Brahma the creator, Brahma the father of Kardama. And with him came Marichi and the other rishis. Brahma, who knew that Narayana would be born and the purpose of his birth, came to his son Kardama and his wife and said, "My child, you have been the ideal son to me. You obeyed my commands, and now you have 9 daughters who will propagate the race. Give them to the rishis who are with me. The Lord Narayana has, I know, promised to you that he will be born as your son, and even now your wife is bearing him in her womb. My dear daughter, he will explain to you and through you to the world Brahma Vidya, which will rid you of avidya, ignorance, which is the cause of pain in this world. He will establish the great Sankhya Yoga, and he will be famed as Kapila the world over. The world will be the richer for the presents. Your names will be remembered by the world of men because you will be the parents of Kapila." Brahma took leave of the couple and went back to Satyaloka. Kardama married his daughters to the rishis. Kala was given to Maricha, Anasuya to Atri, Shraddha to Angiras, and Havirbhu to Pulatstya. Gati was given to Pulaha, Kriya to Kratu, while Kyati was given to Bhrigu. Arundhati became the wife of Vashishta, and the youngest daughter Shanti was given to Atharva. The daughters left the home of the good Kardama and Devahuti and went with their husbands. Loneliness visited the aged couple, who were all by themselves now. The thoughts of the great event to come kept them happy. Kardama alone with his wife now that the daughters had gone away to their newly homes, prostrated before the Lord, who was in her, and said, "How can I, with my poor and inadequate intelligence, describe the greatness that is you? How can I express in words your infinite kindness? The gods are indeed benevolent towards men who have spent all their time in this pain-filled samsara. We are born into this world of the bondage because of the accumulated sins in our many previous janmas, and yet you heed them not. Great rishis spend years and years on end training their minds to follow the path of devotion. With single-minded bhakti, they try to sit in solitary spots and concentrate on your form, trying to visualize you in their hearts. And what have you done? Unmindful of the fact that I am an ignorant, stupid, low man who is caught in the web of the senses, not minding all this, you have designed to be born in this humble ashrama of mine as my son. What shall I say? What can I say? Once you told me that you would be born as my son, and to keep that promise you have come to me. Great is the love you have for our bhaktas. I know no words, my Lord, to praise you and your form. You are the womb of all this universe, and you are now a child in the womb of Devahuti. We ascribe to you 4 arms. These 4 stand for the 4 pathways of approach to you, the 4 yogas. The seers know you by realizing you with their penance. I can only fall at your feet and worship you. How can I describe the Ishvara? You are the Purusha. You are the Mahat and Aham Tattvas. You are time. You are the 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. You are the world and the protector of the world too. You hold the entire universe inside you. I salute you Kapila Vasudeva, the Lord of Lords. Having known you, I am completely rid of this Maya, this attachment to my samsara. I am bent on adopting sannyasa. I want to spend the rest of my life in contemplation of you, and the sole purpose of my life hereafter will be to reach you. Narayana, who was inside Devahuti, said, Kardama, I have once promised you that I would be born as your son. How could I stay without fulfilling it? This, my avatara, is solely for the benefit of those who want release from this bondage called the human body. I want to help man by telling him the truth about myself. This Brahma Vidya has been forgotten by many. I want to retrieve it and save mankind. You have made a wise decision. You have my permission to go as a sannyasi, but then you are ripe for salvation. Surrender all your desires to me and you will find release from this bondage. You will see me in your heart and soon you will come to me. As for my mother, she is so frightened of this world and she is terrified of her impending loneliness after you go. I will teach her Atma Vidya and help her to realize me. Kardama made pradakshina to Kapila and went away to the forest. In the forest, Kardama spent his days in silence. He thought of nothing else but the Brahman. He had no more feelings of attachment. He was now beyond the plane of cause and effect. He reached the stage where the three gunas are so perfectly balanced that man becomes nirguna without any of the three gunas. The feelings of I and mine had left him long ago. The opposites ceased to trouble him. The pains of the body, the agitations of the mind, and the restlessness of the intellect had all vanished. His vision had turned inwards, and inside himself he saw none other than the Lord Narayana. Kardama found his mind tranquil and still like the sea, whose waves have been hushed. And in such a frame of mind, Kardama, the son of Brahma, the father of Kapila Vasudeva, reached the feet of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.